MarkDee, and it's day 40. What? I don't remember what day it is. I think it's day 45 of the 75 Hard Challenge. Today I'm talking about self-leadership, self-worth, and sabotage. Self-sabotage. Why didn't I say 3 selves? That would have been really catchy. Dang you, Mark. Sometimes you just don't meet up to your own expectations. And there's the segue. Welcome tonight. I would like to thank you for showing up. If you're on the replay, that's great too. And I just want to talk a little bit about myself and my self-worth and the challenges I have with that. The new book I'm reading is talking a lot about self-sabotage, and it essentially talks about the ultimate self-problem that is triggered by your inability to move beyond a certain ceiling of excellence or certain ceiling of success. And it postulates, I'm only a few chapters in, it postulates that everybody's got a certain quadrant of 4 different quadrants that we always limit ourselves on. And often it'll be more than one of those quadrants. So a good example is you get a raise and your career is going good and you get more money. Things are a little more comfortable that way. And you kind of enjoy the ride for a little bit, but ultimately based on your programming, you turn that into relationship issues and then you're fighting with your partner. That's just one example of hundreds of variations of that. What's coming up for me during reading this book is a story I'm telling myself about why my coaching was doing so well for like a very short period of time, especially out of the blocks. I mean, I felt very proud of what I was doing. I was very fortunate to get a great contract. I had 2 separate independent people I was coaching, great leaders, and I was coaching like a leadership team of about 20 at a startup company, and it was going amazing. And the story I tell myself is that because of COVID, it ended. And as I reflect on that, I don't actually know if that's the truth. I made an assumption and I kind of backed off on the company. I didn't ask any questions. I didn't come from a place of curiosity to find out what the actual situation was. My contact at the company also no longer worked there, and then that caused me to kind of have a little bit of disconnect. And ultimately, I never really offered any kind of further assistance, and probably at a time when their leaders needed it even more than they had previous to that. Very open company to growing and improving. Like many leaders, there was lots of challenges for them. That's not uncommon. And when COVID hit, I kind of had 2 of the 20 just kind of say, yeah, can we still do the next one? And I said, sure. And nobody protested, and I did do them. We did them via video, but they were more like closure sessions instead of ongoing coaching sessions. That was my choice. I chose not to take that extra step, find out what the boundaries were, find out how we might collaborate, work together, perhaps even address certain situations. Sometimes I have a little bit of regret around that, to be honest, but I'll tell you what, it also has allowed me to kind of reflect and change my avenue and do a lot more self-work and grow and build on what I was intending to be a coach for. It's pretty fortunate for a coach to get a big contract like that right off the bat. There's a whole bunch of different things I kind of put up as walls. Have you ever found yourself doing that? Have you ever found yourself in a successful situation and you start building challenges and hurdles for yourself? I think we can all relate to that in some form or another. So as I'm looking back on that, what I'm thinking about is, I told myself it was because of COVID. Now, I wanted to get into coaching leaders because I had been a performance coach for quality assurance in many call centers. I'd had some success in a couple of the large companies I worked at as a leader at a supervisory role. When I was at eBay, I turned around 2 customer experience teams who were failing because of an unfortunate situation, turned them around to have success, build comfort for certain people. There was people put into jobs because of a misfortune with the company where they were put into jobs they weren't meant for, and they really struggled. And the 2 teams that were built, I ended up being supervisor of that, and then a bunch of circumstances occurred which actually made it so I was the only supervisor while others were off on medical or away on foreign work in a different country with the company. And I found that there was a lot of lack of mentorship and a lack of leadership, and sometimes communication between middle or lower supervisory roles, which were intended to be huge leaders and leading, fairly big groups to succeed, and not as much contact and support from the line above them, or even the line two lines above them. And those experiences over about 3 to 5 years really edged me to make a push to want to change that and change the ability for leaders to connect with each other in both directions. I'm still drawn to helping that situation. I'm really drawn to providing people with a different way to look at things, especially the people who are in the supervisory roles, because sometimes it can feel like a real shit sandwich, especially if you're not equipped. If you're new at it, or you don't have a lot of experience, or haven't been trained properly, these things can really affect you while you're trying to support a team, and then additionally not being able to have someone to reach out to help you and support you through that role. And I know what it's like to be there, and that's what's driving me to help new and evolving leaders. Now, because of my own personal journey, I'm talking a lot about asking myself what kind of person I want to be. And I think all of us ask ourselves that question. And you have to ultimately ask yourself what kind of person you want to be in many different moments. You don't have to necessarily ask yourself what kind of person you want to be in the bigger scheme of things, although that's a great thing to ask yourself on a regular basis. And that's why I'm focusing on self-leadership now, because self-leadership is the constant question of what kind of person do I want to be. And it doesn't have to be about leading other people, about leading a team. It can ultimately be about leading yourself. And that's really important for humanity, for self-fulfillment, for feeling like you have a purpose, feeling like you have an intention. And that's one of the main targets when it comes to avoiding anxiety, depression. Now, you don't have to be a great leader. You don't have to be someone who does something amazing and great. I think you just have to, and this is of course just my feelings and opinions on this, you just have to be someone who knows that you're in alignment with the kind of person you want to be. And if you know that you're in alignment with the kind of person you want to be, then you'll be content. You'll feel that contentment, that satisfaction. And so I'm so enthused about looking at self-leadership and helping people understanding why self-leadership is exceptionally important to themselves. And I want to focus on niche groups of supervisors in the lower to middle range of leadership management in companies, and assist them in having consciousness in their roles, which then spreads like wildfire both up and down the ladder, and can have a profound effect on an entire company. And sometimes when we're feeling down in this world, like we can't change all the horrible things happening, and we want to go in and we want to fucking throw shit around, change shit up. And people do need to do that. I'm not saying people shouldn't do that. But not everybody has that disposition. But I believe in my heart that everybody has the ability to change themselves internally which has a ripple effect to all the existence around them. And this changes, this flips the script, as my good buddy Alan DMS says. Shout out to you, DMS, I love you, man. Flipping the script is the beginning of the change that you want to see. That's what I'm thinking about tonight. This is MarkDee saying, with a little more light on my face, I love you. Ask yourself, who is the person you want to be? And work on that. Be that person. Model that person for yourself and for the people around you. I love you. Have a great night.